Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Cherubone Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And always very glad to have with us my friend Chett Chiassion. Chett, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here again, Keith.
We appreciate it, of course. Chett, the Executive Director of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission. Remarkable about all of the things that the port does. We talk about it all the time, not only for the community around it, the larger community, the state, the nation, the world, but we've got some good things happening at the port. I know y'all put lots of time and energy into a lot of these things, and now that they're coming to fruition, let's talk about this new tenant. Let's talk about Crowley a little bit.
Absolutely. So we are so very fortunate to, over the years at the port, have amazing tenants that are part of the port family, we like to call it.
Right.
And they spend a lot of time and effort and money in our community.
Right.
Some of them are from our community, others are not.
Right.
They hire people, they spend money in our community, they pay taxes to our community, they allow our communities to thrive. And we're very excited to add to that great list of tenant base that we have in Port Fourchon with Crowley.
Okay.
Crowley Maritime and Crowley Wind, right?
Right.
So this is exciting that this is a purpose-built, or going to be. So let's be clear.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
Let's start at the beginning. Let's be clear. This is a right of first refusal.
Okay.
So what does that mean? So a right of first refusal is basically Crowley has a first right on a large swath of property in Port Fourchon to potentially build a facility. Now, obviously, this is kind of like an announcement, right? So we announce it, and they're marketing that to their potential customers to say, hey, look, we have the opportunity to have a facility in Port Fourchon and build one. So let's work out some sort of deal, right?
Right.
And then for use of that facility, and then they would go out and build out. So we anticipate, we're hoping that within the next year, before that prior, but at least within the next year, that right of first refusal turns into a lease.
Right.
And then we move forward on, rent payments and all of those things.
Sure,
that
all the things that come with that.
And the investment,
Right.
Millions of dollars of investment that will take place on that site. And that site is fairly large. It's a 2,200, 2,300 linear feet of waterfront on Slip Sea in Port Fourchon with about 40 acres of land, a little over 40 acres of land associated with that. That's a big piece of property.
Right.
So we're excited about that because it's has potential to be the first purpose-built offshore wind service and development facility in the Gulf of Mexico. That's critical and that's key as we move forward with all of these things we've talked about over the last several times I've been here about what's coming with offshore wind. This is another step towards those goals of providing more energy for our country, our community.
Additional energy.
Energy addition is what we're looking for.
Correct. Right. And just to be able to talk with Crowley about that, as there are two different divisions, right? Maritime and wind divisions, and such a large area for them to come in and want to, and say, I'm interested.
Correct.
I'm interested in doing that. As the first right of refusal to do that.
That's right. And for them, it's strategic, right? As it is for us to get folks in like that, like Crowley. But it's strategic for them because they already are working on the East Coast in Salem, Massachusetts. They're building a facility to do just this.
Right.
They're started making agreements with some folks on California because we know that they're going to have some floating offshore wind off the coast of California. They've already started that. And then we're the Gulf of Mexico location. So again, we're excited about that. We've worked hard for the last year or so in putting Port Fourchon on the forefront for Gulf of Mexico offshore wind expansion and work that we anticipate coming. So again, the fruits of our labor, we believe we're seeing to come to pass, as well as what it'll mean by having this new business sector for energy at Port Fourchon and in the Gulf of Mexico, what it will mean for our users, current users as well.
Right.
And more business is really good for our community.
More business and additional businesses.
That's
it's
correct.
that add-on, if you
That's
will.
correct.
And we're looking at a large company, very well-respected company that's already making plans on the East Coast and the West Coast.
Correct.
To now really make a developmental plan down in the South.
Correct.
And it kind of triangulates, if you will, their positioning.
Yes.
And they get to see, and that's different in all three of those areas. It's different on the West Coast and the East Coast than in the south, and it's different in as much as they'll be the first and kind of put their footprint, if you will,
Correct.
on wind options in the Gulf.
That's correct, and it's again, it's we can't say the words enough. All the good adjectives about what we're talking about here, but it's such an exciting time with all of the negativity we've had over the several years with COVID and hurricanes and all of those things.
Right.
To really get some positivity, some new things, some different things that'll give opportunities, more opportunities for our people, for our community, for our region, our state, our national economy. It's just it's time for more positivity than all the negative that we've heard about and have had to deal with over the last several years.
And it's the opportunity. It's you've done the hard work about bringing in this new opportunity that's going to shape a different future for the port.
That's correct.
Right? And again, first right of refusal, there's nothing in place yet, but there's this opportunity, and we're looking at the building of what that is. And that's what the port's about, right?
Absolutely.
Introducing and bringing in those people that, you bring in a little different member of the family, right?
That's correct.
Somebody in the family that's never done anything like this before. And again, it's that footprint that we're looking at the port and in the Gulf that's different and new than we've done anywhere else. And so they've got it on the East Coast, got it on the West Coast. And again, Crowley, first option here, first right of refusal to kind of work with the port with this wind development. And there's some other really good news as we talk about some of the things happening here with this this new purchase agreement.
Yep. So several months ago, many months ago, we began speaking with the Calumet Land Company, or Calumet Land LLC, about the potential of their property. We've had a long-standing relationship with the Calumet family,
Right.
Since the 60s.
Wow.
And that family actually was the group that helped us start the port. They donated some property to the Port Commission to start the port and get things moving, and have historically had a long-standing relationship since then in managing some of their property. And then as we started to come to the last couple of several months, but really for the last year, in having some discussions about what to do with the access to Fourchon Island, which is some new development we want to do with building a new bridge, because the old bridge had to be removed because it was just 85 years old and it needed to be removed. It kind of sparked some discussion about the potential of managing all of their property or purchasing all of their property, and it came down to the point where they had they did an assessment on their properties, had it all appraised. We started some discussions, and ultimately came down to the point where we have, as of last week, signed a purchase agreement to purchase 857 acres of property from Calumet Land and that family, for about 30, for exactly, the land itself is for a little over $36 million, and then about $2.5 million is settling some agreements and some things that we had in place
involved with the land
over the years,
Sure.
And have evolved with the relationship. So ultimately, it's a total price of $39 million for land purchase and settling out agreements, and we are so excited about the opportunity there as well as to what we can do with that property. The majority of the 857 acres is about 616 acres of marsh to the north of the port. Okay. The rest of the footprint is within the port itself, and several of those sites have leases on them already. So we're buying property with revenue generation immediately from day one.
Right.
For us, we're excited about the fact that we're going to generate $1.4 million of revenue annually off of those leases from day one.
Wow.
And if we continue to lease more property or what have you, we're going to generate even more revenue for the port to allow us to continue to do all of the things that we enjoy doing in Port Fourchon. So
it's growing.
Absolutely. Continue to grow allows us as a port authority to be the manager, either owner or manager of all of the industrial property in the port proper. So again, it's important for us as we move forward in the future. In working through this with the Caillouette family and that corporation that they have with the land ownership, they're excited about what they can then do for their family.
Sure.
With those funds, and we're excited about what we can do for the port and our community as we continue to move forward with that property.
Yeah, it seems like such a perfect marriage of what the Caillouette family's always done for and with the port, and something the port can kind of do in a way to kind of give back. So it's a win-win for everybody. So let's put a picture of that up, Jen, if you don't mind. And so, Chett, if you could kind of describe for us what this property is.
So again, the properties that we're highlighting on the screen now are the properties within the port industrial footprint that we purchased. To the north of that, to the north of the port is where all that other marsh acreage is. But this is the industrial area. It includes large leases that are currently on, being leased by companies.
Right.
And that's where that revenue is going to come in. So everything that's outlined in red is the property that the Port Commission is purchasing from the Caillouettes.
Okay.
You can kind of see on the bottom right-hand side of the picture, there's some other properties that are kind of highlighted in yellow.
Yes.
Those areas in yellow are what was announced in the press release when we signed last week. That is going to be donated by the Caillouettes to the state of Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
To build the Caillouette-Fouchon State Park.
Oh, my goodness.
So that now has to be approved by the state legislature this coming in session. That's
Right.
about 167 acres.
Wow.
So as part of this land purchase deal on our front, it turned into as well a land donation by the family to the state to build a state park. So that'll give the general public access through the state park to that marsh, to the beachhead, and all of those things. So that's going to be an exciting thing for South Lafourche, for Lafourche Parish, for the region, for the state, for anyone who wants to enjoy the coast.
Right.
It's going to be another benefit to everything that's taking place in Port Fouchon and around that area.
And again, it starts and stops. So many years ago, when the Caillouette family said we want to be able to do this and make a donation to the port,
That's right.
and now this sale to the port, and also the donation, it really echoes the Caillouette family and their dedication and their commitment to the community and to things growing and becoming new again. So some wonderful things, Chett. Great news. So, man, we've gone over two of maybe the more important things to be happening at the port. And I know we talk about it today, but it's stuff y'all have been working on for a long time, even years, coming to fruition. But it's also nice that y'all are having some other positive changes. Got a new commissioner. We've got some elections coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
So our Port Commission, the Port Authority, our board is a 9-member board.
Right.
Made up of members of the 10th Ward of Lafourche Parish, which is basically the Intracoastal Canal south of the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
And we have the only elected Port Commission in the state of Louisiana for Port Commission sake. Right.
Isn't that
so
interesting?
yeah, it is. All the others are appointed.
Right.
So it's very interesting because it's so different. Right. What's great about it is that we answer to the people. We answer to the general public of our jurisdiction, which again is the 10th Ward of Lafourche Parish. So we had 2 members just a few months ago move away.
Right.
So they were living outside of the area, so they had to resign their seats. We put interim folks in there, and that's the board that makes that decision.
Right.
They put interim members in those seats. So we have a current interim member is Mr. Ted Savoy, and a current an interim was Mr. Tom Pete from down in Golden Meadow, and he qualifying for the March 25th election was January 25th, 26th, 27th.
Okay.
We took qualifying and at the clerk of court's office, and Mr. Tom was the only person to sign up for the seat B.
Okay.
So on that seat, for that seat, he is officially elected by having no one run against him. So we swore him in last week so he is an official elected member of the Port Commission, And then, but we do have another election for that second seat.
Okay.
Seat E, and that is two gentlemen qualified to run for that, Mr. Dean Savoy and Mr. Reggie Leday. And we'll see what happens there, and we'll be happy to welcome either one of those onto the board.
Right.
But all of the folks that are on the board currently and are interested in the board are people that people know in the community.
Sure.
And are familiar. So we're excited about those opportunities, and they are the guide for me as the
Right.
executive director.
Right.
They legislate, we execute, right, and we do the things that they want us to accomplish. We tell them what's going on. They tell us if they want us to do certain things in a certain way.
Right.
And it's a really good dynamic, and I'm proud to be able to work for them and a board like this. They've always been a good caliber folks, and we're excited about the future and what that holds in this next election.
And you got, again, you make it a very important point that the people down in the 10th Ward get to have a say-so.
That's correct.
About who's making decisions about what matters to them.
Right.
And we talk about the port and how it matters to so many, and just the volume of service and sale that come through the port, and how that impacts not only the community but everybody. And so a new commissioner as well. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So our new commissioner, the one that was elected, is Mr. Tom Pete.
Okay.
And Tom is a pillar of the community, and we're excited to have him on board. We're happy about where we're going as a port commission.
Right.
They're happy about where we're going with the port and with the airport, and can't say enough about how great this board is and the things we've been able to accomplish.
Right.
Over all the years, we've always had really good boards, but this board in particular is just an amazing group of people, and we work very well together. We have a great staff at the Port Commission, including myself. We have 42 employees.
Right.
And we're doing everything we possibly can to make our community proud. And I hope we are. I think we are.
Right.
And we're going to continue to work hard every day to do that. And this upcoming election is a very important one, not
Right.
just from that standpoint with the Port Commission.
Right.
But there's some other things in the community that are coming in with that the parish is putting forth with some tax reform.
Okay.
Which for us in Lafourche Parish is, I believe, personally desperately needed, just from a business retention standpoint, from a business expansion standpoint. What's being proposed is going to, if it all passes, would help people in terms of property taxes go down.
Wow.
Sales taxes would be kind of stagnated,
Instead of going up.
but we would also be able to, as a parish, be able to give some more funding to the school system to give raises to teachers and staff, which benefits our community, our schools, our kids going to school, being able to attract and retain and recruit teachers for our community. So, that's an important election. I'm not here to say vote
Right.
yes or no, but
Right.
what I'm saying is reform is tax reform is necessary.
Right.
And needed for our communities because of where we've gone, and we've needed all of those taxes in the past.
Right.
And I think the proposals are good, and we need to seriously consider those as a community for sure.
Well, and I love the fact that we come on and talk about so many different things, but we talk about what's important for the community.
Yes.
And that's what the port's all about. Chett, we thank you so much for all of the direction and education and things that you provided to us, and for the good things coming. Keep us informed. We want to let the public know about all those good things.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. Thank you so much for joining us. That will do it for this particular Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.